The barn door slammed shut, the echo swallowing the dusk. My heart pounded as Caleb turned the lock, his silhouette stark against the fading light seeping through the cracks. I was alone with him, and he was about to unravel everything I thought I knew about his brother. Lucas. My name is Ethan, and I'm 24, a city kid who traded Chicago's concrete for the open fields of rural Illinois to chase a summer internship at a sustainable farm. Lucas, my boyfriend of 6 months, brought me here to meet his family. He was all charm and easy smiles, 25 years old, with a laugh that could melt anyone. But Caleb, his older brother, was different. 26, broad-shouldered, quiet, with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of secrets. From the moment I arrived at their family's sprawling farm, Caleb's gaze lingered on me, heavy and unreadable, like he was measuring my worth. The farm was a patchwork of cornfields and pastures, the kind of place where the air smelled of earth and possibility. Lucas had painted it as an idyllic escape, but the tension between him and Caleb was palpable. They barely spoke at dinner, their mother's attempts at conversation falling flat. I caught Caleb staring at me across the table, his fork frozen midair, and my stomach twisted. Was it jealousy? Disapproval? I couldn't tell, but it made my skin prickle. That first evening, Lucas had to run into town for supplies, leaving me with Caleb. Show him the farm, Lucas said casually, tossing his truck keys to his brother. Caleb nodded, his jaw tight, and motioned for me to follow. We walked through fields glowing under the sunset, the silence between us thick. He pointed out the crops, the livestock, the old tractor rusting in the yard, but his words were clipped, like he was holding something back. Then we reached the barn, a hulking, red structure that seemed to loom over the farm like a sentinel. Want to see inside? Caleb asked, his voice low. I nodded, unsure why my pulse quickened. He pushed the heavy door open, and I stepped into the dim, hay-scented space. The air was warm, thick with the musk of animals and old wood. Tools hung on the walls, and bales of hay were stacked in the corner. Before I could take it all in, Caleb shut the door behind us. The lock clicked. My breath caught. Caleb, what's going on? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He turned, his face half-shadowed, and leaned against a wooden beam. Ethan, he said, his voice rough, there's something you need to know about Lucas. About me? About this family. My stomach dropped. I'd sensed something off since I arrived, but this felt bigger, heavier. Caleb's eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time, I saw something raw in them: pain, maybe, or fear. Lucas isn't who you think he is, he said, and neither am I. I took a step back, my sneakers scuffing the dirt floor. What are you talking about? He hesitated, running a hand through his short black hair. This isn't easy to say. Lucas, he's not just my brother. He's my twin. And he's hiding something from you, something we've both been hiding for years. My mind reeled. Twins. Lucas had never mentioned it. I thought of his easy grin, the way he'd talk about his childhood on this farm, always vague about family details. I'd chalked it up to him being private, but now Caleb's words cracked that illusion open. Hiding what? I demanded, my voice sharper now. Caleb's jaw clenched. You ever wonder why Lucas brought you here? Why he's so eager to show you off to Mom and Dad, but keeps you away from me? I shook my head, confusion knotting my thoughts. He said you two don't get along. That's all. Caleb let out a bitter laugh. That's one way to put it. Ethan, Lucas brought you here to prove a point. To me. To himself. But it's not about love. It's about control. My chest tightened. You're not making sense, Just tell me what's going on. He stepped closer, his boots heavy on the floor. I'm trying. But you need to hear the whole story, or you'll never understand why this family is the way it is. His voice softened, but there was an edge to it, like he was teetering on the brink of something dangerous. Sit down, Ethan. This is going to take a while. I hesitated, glancing at the locked door. Part of me wanted to bolt, to find Lucas and demand answers. But Caleb's eyes held me there, pleading in a way that made my heart ache. I sank onto a hay bale, the rough straw poking through my jeans. Okay, I said. Tell me everything. Caleb exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath for years. He sat across from me, his hands clasped tightly. It started when we were kids, he said. This farm wasn't just our home. It was our prison. He began to unravel a story that stretched back to their childhood, one of rigid expectations and unspoken rules. Their father, a stern man shaped by tradition, had raised them to be tough, to fit the mold of what he thought men should be. Lucas, the charismatic one, learned to play the part charming, obedient, the perfect son. Caleb, quieter and more introspective, struggled to conform. By the time they were teenagers, they were drifting apart, divided by more than just personality. We were close once, Caleb said, his voice thick with emotion. Twins. You know. We shared everything. But then, things changed. He paused, his eyes distant. When we were 16, I realized something about myself. Something I couldn't tell anyone, not even Lucas. Especially not Lucas. I leaned forward, my heart pounding. What was it? Caleb's gaze met mine, raw and unguarded. I'm gay, Ethan. And Lucas, he knew before I did. He saw it in me, and he used it against me. The words hit like a punch. I stared at him, trying to process what he'd just said. Lucas, my Lucas, had known his brother was gay and used it as leverage. It didn't add up. The man I loved was kind, open-minded, supportive. Or so I thought. Caleb, I said carefully, are you saying Lucas is homophobic? He shook his head. It's not that simple. Lucas isn't hateful. He's complicated. He spent his whole life trying to be the golden boy, to make Dad proud. When he figured out I was different, he didn't reject me. He just pulled away, started treating me like a rival instead of a brother. I frowned, my mind racing. But why? And what does this have to do with me? Caleb's eyes softened, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in them, something that looked dangerously like longing. Because, Ethan, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, you're not just Lucas's boyfriend. You're the one I've been waiting to meet my whole life. The air in the barn seemed to vanish. My heart stopped, then surged, a mix of shock and something I couldn't name. Caleb's confession hung between us, heavy and electric, and I knew nothing would ever be the same. The barn felt smaller now, the walls closing in as Caleb's words echoed in my head. I stared at him, his rugged face lit only by the slivers of moonlight sneaking through the barn's cracks. What do you mean? The one I've been waiting to meet? I asked, my voice shaking. Caleb leaned back, his hands gripping the edge of the hay bale like he was anchoring himself. I didn't plan to say that, he admitted, his voice low. It just came out. But it's true, Ethan. From the moment Lucas brought you here, I felt something. Like you were different. Like you could understand. I shook my head, my thoughts a tangle of confusion and disbelief. Caleb, I'm with Lucas. Your brother. You can't just say something like that. I know, he said quickly, his eyes dropping to the floor. I know how it sounds. I'm not trying to mess with you. I swear. But you deserve to know the truth about this family, about Lucas, before you get in any deeper. I stood, pacing the dirt floor, my sneakers kicking up dust. The air was thick with the scent of hay and something sharper, like tension itself had a smell. Then keep talking, I said, my voice sharper than I meant. You said Lucas is hiding something. What is it? Caleb exhaled, his shoulders slumping. It's not just one thing. It's a whole damn web. Lucas has always been good at playing the part: perfect son, perfect student, perfect boyfriend. But it's all a mask. He's terrified of anyone seeing the real him. I stopped pacing, turning to face him. The real him? What does that even mean? Caleb's eyes met mine, steady but pained. Lucas is gay, Ethan. Just like me. But unlike me. He spent his whole life pretending he's not. The words hit like a freight train. I stumbled back, catching myself against a wooden beam. No, I said, shaking my head. That's impossible. Lucas and I, we're together. He's out. He's open about it. He told me he came out to your parents years ago. Caleb's laugh was bitter, hollow. Yeah, that's what he tells everyone. But it's a lie. Lucas never came out to our parents. He's been living a double life, keeping you a secret from them. Why do you think they were so surprised when you showed up? They thought you were just a friend from the city. My knees felt weak. I sank back onto the hay bale, my mind racing to piece together the last few days. The awkward dinner, the way Lucas's parents had avoided mentioning our relationship, the tension in their smiles, it all made sense now. But why? I whispered. Why would he lie to me? Because that's what Lucas does, Caleb said, his voice softening. He lies to keep control. He lies to keep everyone happy. He brought you here to show me up, to prove he's living the life Dad expects: successful, charming, straight passing. But he's not free, Ethan. He's trapped, just like I was. I buried my face in my hands, trying to process it all. Lucas, my Lucas, was living a lie. It didn't fit with the man I knew, the one who held my hand in public, who kissed me under the Chicago skyline, who whispered promises of a future together. But Caleb's words rang with a truth I couldn't ignore. Tell me more, I said finally, my voice barely audible. What happened between you two? Why are you telling me this now? Caleb shifted, his boots scuffing the floor. When we were teenagers, I figured out I was gay. I didn't know how to handle it. Growing up in a house where Dad thought being a man meant being tough, stoic, straight. I confided in Lucas, thinking he'd understand. We were twins, after all. But instead of supporting me, he pulled away, started acting like I was a threat to his perfect image. He paused, his jaw tightening. One night, I got caught sneaking out to meet a guy from school. Dad found out, and it was bad. He didn't kick me out, but he made it clear I was a disappointment. Lucas didn't defend me. He just stood there, silent, letting me take the fall. After that, he started building this wall between us. He went off to college, became the golden boy, while I stayed here, working the farm, hiding who I am. My heart ached for him, but anger simmered beneath it. So what? You're telling me this to get back at him? To ruin what we have? No, Caleb said, his voice fierce. I'm telling you because you deserve better. Because I see the way you look at Lucas, like he's your whole world. But he's not who you think he is, Ethan. He stopped, his voice breaking. I can't stand the thought of you getting hurt." The barn was silent except for the soft creak of the walls and the wind. I stared at Caleb, his face a mix of determination and vulnerability. He wasn't just confessing his own pain, was laying bare a truth that could shatter everything I thought I knew about Lucas. And about myself. "Why me?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Why do you care so much?" Caleb looked away, his hands clenching into fists. "Because when I saw you, I saw someone who's real. Someone who doesn't hide who they are, even when it's hard. You're not afraid to be yourself, Ethan. And that's something I've never had the courage to do." His words hit me hard, stirring something deep inside. I wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong about me, about Lucas. But part of me wondered if he was right. I'd always prided myself on being open, on living authentically. But was I blind to the cracks in Lucas's facade? Before I could respond, headlights swept across the barn's exterior, cutting through the cracks in the walls. Lucas was back. My heart raced as Caleb stood, his expression hardening. "He's here," he said. "You need to decide what you're going to do, Ethan. Confront him, or keep pretending everything's fine." I opened my mouth to speak, but the sound of the truck door slamming outside stopped me. Footsteps crunched on the gravel, growing closer. Caleb moved to unlock the barn door, but his eyes stayed on me, intense and searching. "Whatever you choose," he said quietly. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." The door creaked open, and Lucas's voice called out, cheerful but tinged with something else. "Ethan, you in there?" I stood, my legs unsteady, my mind a storm of questions. Caleb's confession had turned my world upside down, and now Lucas was here, oblivious to the truth hanging between us. I didn't know what to believe or who to trust. Lucas's silhouette filled the barn doorway, his easy smile faltering as he saw Caleb and me inside, the air thick with tension. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice light but laced with suspicion. My heart pounded, Caleb's words still burning in my mind. "Lucas is gay, but he's been pretending." I forced a smile, my throat tight. "Just talking," I said, glancing at Caleb. His face was unreadable, but his eyes urged me to say something to confront Lucas now. I couldn't. Not yet. Lucas stepped inside, his boots echoing on the dirt floor. "Talking, huh? Caleb giving you the grand tour." He clapped a hand on his brother's shoulder, but the gesture felt forced, like a performance. Caleb stiffened, brushing him off. "Yeah," Caleb said curtly. Showed him the barn. Figured he should know what this place is really about. Lucas's eyes narrowed, a flicker of unease crossing his face. "What's that supposed to mean?" I cut in before Caleb could answer, my voice shaky. "Can we head back to the house, Lucas? I'm tired." It was a lie, but I needed time to think, to sort through the storm in my head. Lucas studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Sure, babe. Let's go." He shot Caleb a look I couldn't decipher, then took my hand, leading me out into the cool night air. The gravel crunched under our feet as we walked toward the farmhouse, but my mind was still in the barn, replaying Caleb's confession. Back in the guest room, Lucas was his usual charming self, joking about the farm's quirks and planning our next day. But I barely heard him. Every smile, every touch, felt like it could be a lie. Was he really hiding his true self from his family? From me? I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, Caleb's words echoing, "You deserve better." The next morning, the farm buzzed with activity. Lucas's parents were warm but distant, their conversations steering clear of anything personal. I noticed how they spoke to Lucas with pride, praising his city job, his ambition. Caleb, meanwhile, was barely acknowledged, his presence a shadow in their eyes. It made my chest ache, thinking of the boy he'd been, hiding who he was to survive this place. After breakfast, Lucas suggested a hike through the woods behind the farm. "Just you and me," he said, his grin disarming. I agreed, hoping the fresh air would clear my head. We followed a trail through dense trees, the sunlight filtering through in golden patches. Lucas held my hand, talking about our future moving in together, maybe adopting a dog. It was the Lucas I loved, open and hopeful. But doubt gnawed at me. "Lucas," I said finally, stopping on the trail, "why didn't you tell me Caleb's your twin?" He froze, his hand tightening around mine. "Didn't seem important," he said, his tone too casual. "We're not close. You know that." "But you never mentioned it," I pressed. "Not once. And your parents, they didn't know about us, did they? About me being your boyfriend?" His face hardened, just for a second, before the smile returned. "Ethan, come on. My parents are old school. I didn't want to make things weird for you. I told them we're together. Just, not in so many words." I searched his eyes, looking for the truth. "So you're out to them?" "Completely." "Of course," he said, but his gaze flicked away, and my stomach twisted. Caleb's voice rang in my head. He's been living a double life. The rest of the hike was quiet, my thoughts a tangled mess. When we got back to the farm, Caleb was chopping wood near the barn, his shirt sleeves rolled up, sweat glistening on his arms. He glanced up, his eyes locking onto mine, and I felt that same electric pull from last night. Lucas noticed, his jaw tightening. "Everything okay?" Lucas asked, his voice sharp. "Yeah," I lied, forcing my eyes away from Caleb. But nothing was okay. The farm, this family, the secrets, it was all closing in. That afternoon, Lucas got a call about a broken fence on the far side of the property. "I'll be back in a couple hours," he said, kissing my forehead. "Hang out. Explore. Just don't let Caleb get in your head." The warning stung, but it also lit a fire in me. As soon as Lucas's truck disappeared down the dirt road, I found Caleb in the barn, stacking hay bales. He looked up, unsurprised, like he'd been expecting me. "You're back," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Did you talk to him?" I shook my head. "Not yet. I need to know more. Caleb. About you. About Lucas. About why you think I'm different." He set down the pitchfork, his expression softening. "Ethan, I didn't mean to scare you last night. But seeing you here, with Lucas, it's like watching history repeat itself. He's charming. Yeah, but he's also manipulative. He's been playing this game since we were kids, keeping everyone at arm's length, making sure no one sees the real him." "And what's the real him?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Caleb stepped closer, his eyes intense. "Someone who's scared. Scared of disappointing Dad, of losing control, of being vulnerable. He loves you. I believe that. But he's not honest with you. Not completely." My chest tightened. "And you are?" "I'm trying to be," he said, his voice raw. "For the first time in my life, I'm trying to be honest. With you. With myself." The air between us crackled, and I felt that pull again, stronger now. Caleb was nothing like Lacasno charm. No polish, just raw, unfiltered truth. And it was drawing me in, despite every warning in my head. Before I could respond, Caleb's mother called from the house, breaking the moment. "Caleb, Ethan, dinner's ready. We stepped back, the tension lingering. As we walked to the house, I knew I was standing on the edge of something dangerous. Lucas, Caleb, this farm, they were all pulling me in different directions, and I had no idea which way to turn. Dinner was a minefield. Lucas's parents filled the silence with small talk about the farm, the weather, anything but the tension simmering between their sons. I sat across from Lucas, his hand brushing mine under the table, but my eyes kept drifting to Caleb, who ate in silence, his fork scraping the plate like a warning. After dinner, Lucas pulled me aside, his smile tight. "You've been quiet," he said, his fingers lingering on my arm. "Everything okay?" I wanted to confront him, to demand the truth about his double life, but the words stuck in my throat. "Just tired," I said, forcing a smile. His eyes searched mine, and for a moment, I thought he'd push harder. But he just nodded and kissed my cheek, promising a quiet night in. As Lucas disappeared to help his dad with the dishes, Caleb caught me in the hallway, his voice low. "Meet me at the barn later. Midnight. We need to finish this." I nodded, my pulse racing. The rest of the evening dragged, every tick of the clock pulling me closer to midnight. When the house finally fell silent, I slipped out, the cool night air biting my skin. The barn loomed ahead, its red paint peeling under the moonlight. Caleb was waiting, leaning against the door, his face half hidden in shadow. "You came," he said, his voice soft but heavy with relief. "I need answers," I said, stepping inside as he closed the door behind us. The lock clicked, and my heart skipped. "No more half-truths. Caleb, tell me everything." He nodded, sitting on a hay bale, his hands clasped tightly. "When we were 18, Lucas and I had a fight, one that changed everything. I'd just come out to him, told him I was gay, that I was tired of hiding. I thought he'd understand, maybe even confess he was struggling too. But instead, he got angry, said I was selfish, that I'd ruin the family if I came out to Mom and Dad." I sat across from him, the hay prickling through my jeans. Why would he say that? Caleb's jaw tightened. Because he was scared. Scared of what it meant for him. I think Lucas knew he was gay too, but he couldn't face it. So he pushed me away, made me the problem. After that, he left for college, built this perfect life, while I stayed here, stuck in his shadow. My chest ached, picturing Caleb alone on this farm, carrying that weight. "And your parents? They never suspected." He shook his head. "Dad's too focused on his idea of what a man should be. Mom, she sees what she wants to see. Lucas learned to play that game, to keep everyone happy. But it's killing him, Ethan. And it's not fair to you." I leaned forward, my voice trembling. "So what am I supposed to do? Just walk away from him?" Caleb's eyes met mine, raw and searching. "I don't know. I just know you deserve someone who's honest with you. Someone who's not afraid to love you out in the open." The air between us thickened, and I felt that pull again, stronger than ever. Caleb's honesty, his vulnerability, it was everything Lucas wasn't. But Lucas was my boyfriend, the man I'd built dreams with. How could I throw that away? Before I could answer, the barn door rattled. "Ethan." Lucas's voice cut through the night, sharp and urgent. "You in there?" Caleb stood, his expression hardening. "He's early," he muttered, moving to unlock the door. Lucas stepped inside, his eyes flicking between us, suspicion darkening his face. "What's going on?" he demanded, his voice low. "Why are you two out here in the middle of the night?" I opened my mouth, but no words came. Caleb stepped forward, his voice steady. He deserves to know the truth. Lucas. About you. About us. Lucas's face paled, his fists clenching. You don't get to decide that. He snapped. This is my life. Caleb. Stay out of it. It's my life too. Caleb shot back, his voice rising. And I'm done watching you lie to everyone, including him. The barn felt like it was shrinking, the tension suffocating. I stood, my heart pounding. Lucas, I said, my voice breaking. Is it true? Are you hiding who you are from your family? His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw fear in them. Ethan, it's not like that. I love you. You know that. Then why didn't you tell them about us? I pressed, my voice shaking. Why didn't you tell me Caleb's your twin? Why are you pretending? Lucas's mouth opened, but no words came. He looked at Caleb, then back at me, his charm crumbling. I was going to tell them. I just needed time. Time for what? I asked, tears burning my eyes. To keep lying. To keep me a secret. He stepped toward me, his hands outstretched. Ethan, please. You don't understand what it's like here. What it's like to be me. Caleb cut in, his voice fierce. Don't make this about you. Lucas. Tell him the truth. All of it. The silence that followed was deafening. Lucas's shoulders slumped, and for the first time, I saw the weight he carried, the fear, the shame, the need to be perfect. I'm sorry, he whispered, his voice breaking. I didn't want to hurt you. My heart shattered, but I couldn't look away from him. Then tell me, I said. Tell me who you really are. Lucas took a shaky breath, his eyes glistening. I'm gay, Ethan. I've always known. But I couldn't be like Caleb. I couldn't face what it would do to this family. To me. The truth hung between us, raw and painful. I wanted to reach for him, to hold him, but Caleb's presence anchored me, his honesty a lifeline in the chaos. I was caught between two brothers, two truths, and no clear way forward. The barn was silent, the weight of Lucas's confession pressing down on us all. His eyes, usually so bright with charm, were dim, filled with a vulnerability I'd never seen. I wanted to believe him, to believe that his lies were born of fear, not malice. But Caleb's presence, steady and unflinching, made it impossible to ignore the truth. Lucas, I said, my voice trembling, why didn't you trust me enough to tell me? He ran a hand through his hair, his face crumpling. I wanted to. Ethan. God, I wanted to. But every time I thought about it, I saw Dad's face, his disappointment, his anger. I saw Mom pretending everything was fine. I couldn't do it. Caleb stepped forward, his voice low but firm. You could have. Lucas. You just chose not to. You chose to let me carry the shame instead. Lucas's head snapped up, his eyes flashing. You think it's been easy for me? Playing the perfect son, keeping everyone happy. You gotta stay here, Caleb, to be the martyr. I had to leave, to build a life that didn't feel like a lie every damn day. I stood between them, my heart tearing in two. Stop it, I said, my voice louder than I intended. Both of you. This isn't about who had it worse. It's about me, and what you've both dragged me into. Lucas's face softened, and he reached for my hand. Ethan, I love you. I know I messed up, but I can fix this. I'll tell them. I'll come out to Mom and Dad. I swear. Caleb's laugh was sharp, cutting through the moment. You've been saying that for years. Lucas, You'll never do it. You're too scared of losing their approval. Enough. I snapped, pulling my hand from Lucas's grip. I need time to think. I can't do this right now. I pushed past them, shoving the barn door open and stepping into the night. The cool air hit my face, but it did nothing to calm the storm inside me. I walked aimlessly, the gravel crunching under my feet, until I reached the edge of a cornfield. The stalks swayed in the breeze, their whispers mocking my confusion. I sank to the ground, my back against a fence post, and let the tears come. I'd come to this farm thinking I was meeting Lucas's family, building a future with him. Now, I was caught in a web of secrets, torn between two brothers who both claimed to care about me. Lucas, with his charm and his lies. Caleb, with his raw honesty and his quiet strength. I didn't know who to trust or what I wanted. The next morning, I avoided both of them, sticking close to Lucas's parents as they showed me the farm's operations. Their pride in the land was clear, but so was their blindness to their son's struggles. I watched them interact with Lucas, their golden boy, and Caleb, their afterthought, and it made my chest ache. How could they not see the pain their expectations caused? By afternoon, I couldn't avoid Lucas anymore. He found me near the tractor shed, his eyes red-rimmed, like he hadn't slept. "Ethan," he said, his voice soft. "Can we talk? Just us?" I nodded, following him to a quiet spot by the creek that ran through the property. The water bubbled over rocks, a stark contrast to the tension between us. "I'm sorry," Lucas said, sitting on the grass. "I should have been honest with you from the start. About my family, about Caleb, about everything." I sat beside him, my knees pulled to my chest. "Then why weren't you? I thought we were building something real, Lucas. But now I don't even know who you are." He looked away, his jaw tight. "I wanted to be the guy you fell for. The guy who had it all together. But growing up here, it messed me up, Ethan. Dad's always been clear about what he expects: strength, success, a normal life. I tried to give him that, even if it meant hiding parts of myself." "And me?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Was I just part of the act?" "No," he said fiercely, turning to face me. "You're the realest thing in my life. I love you, Ethan. I didn't know how to be honest with you and still keep my family together." I wanted to believe him, but Caleb's words lingered, a shadow over every promise. "What about Caleb?" I asked. "He said you used his coming out against him, that you let him take the fall." Lucas's face darkened. "Caleb's always been dramatic. He came out to Dad, and it blew up. Yeah. But I didn't betray him. I didn't know how to handle it. I was a kid too, Ethan." His words sounded reasonable, but they didn't erase the doubt. I stood, brushing grass from my jeans. "I need space, Lucas. I need to figure out what's real." He nodded, his eyes glistening. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." As I walked back to the farmhouse, I saw Caleb in the distance, repairing a fence. He glanced up, his eyes meeting mine, and that pull was there again, undeniable. I turned away, my heart a battlefield, knowing I couldn't avoid the truth much longer. That night, I lay awake in the guest room, replaying every moment: Lucas's charm, Caleb's confession, the lies and the pain. I knew I had to confront the truth, not just about Lucas, but about what I wanted. And deep down, I was starting to realize that Caleb's honesty, his vulnerability, was drawing me in ways I hadn't expected. The farm woke early, the rooster's crow cutting through the dawn. I hadn't slept, my mind caught in a loop of Lucas's tearful promises and Caleb's raw honesty. I slipped out before breakfast, needing air, needing clarity. The fields stretched endlessly before me, the corn swaying like a sea of secrets. I found Caleb by the livestock pens, feeding the chickens. He moved with quiet purpose, his flannel shirt stretched across his broad shoulders. He glanced up as I approached, his eyes searching mine. "You okay?" he asked, setting the feed bucket down. "No," I admitted, leaning against the fence. "I don't know what to do. Caleb. Lucas says he loves me, that he'll come out to your parents. But I don't know if I can trust him." Caleb's jaw tightened, but his voice was gentle. "You don't have to decide right now, but you need to ask yourself what you want, Ethan. Not what Lucas wants, or what I want. What you want." His words hit hard, forcing me to face the question I'd been avoiding. I'd come to this farm thinking I knew my future with Lucas, in Chicago, building a life together. But now, standing here with Caleb, I felt something else stirring, something I wasn't ready to name. "I thought I knew," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "But everything's different now." Caleb stepped closer, his presence steady, grounding. "I know what it's like to feel lost here. This place, it has a way of stripping you down, showing you who you really are. That's why I stayed, even after everything. I wanted to face it, to stop running." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the strength beneath his quiet exterior. Caleb wasn't just Lucas's shadow, was his own person, scarred but unbroken. And that pull, that electric connection, was stronger than ever. Before I could speak, Lucas's voice called out from the farmhouse. "Ethan. Breakfast." His tone was cheerful, but it felt like a tether, pulling me back to him. Caleb's eyes flickered with something regret, maybe, or longing. "Go," he said. "But think about what I said. You deserve to be with someone who's all in." I nodded, my throat tight, and headed back to the house. Breakfast was a blur, Lucas's charm dialed up to 11, as if he could sense me slipping away. His parents laughed at his stories, oblivious to the tension, while Caleb ate in silence, his eyes avoiding mine. After breakfast, I volunteered to help with chores, hoping the work would clear my head. Lucas paired me with Caleb to clean the horse stalls, a task that felt like a cruel twist of fate. We worked side by side, the rhythm of shoveling and sweeping filling the silence. But the air between us was charged, every glance a question, every brush of our shoulders a spark. "You don't have to stay with him," Caleb said suddenly, his voice low as he leaned on his shovel. "You're not trapped here, Ethan. You can choose." I froze, my hands tightening around the rake. "Choose what?" "You. Lucas. I don't even know what's real anymore." Caleb's eyes softened. "I'm not asking you to choose me. I'm asking you to choose yourself. To be honest with what you feel, even if it scares you." His words cut deep, exposing the truth I'd been dodging. I was scared of hurting Lucas, of betraying him, but also of the feelings Caleb stirred in me. Feelings I hadn't expected, hadn't wanted, but couldn't ignore. That afternoon, a storm rolled in, dark clouds swallowing the sky. Lucas found me in the barn, where I'd gone to escape the chaos in my head. "Hey," he said, his voice soft. "You've been distant. Talk to me." I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. "Lucas, I need the truth. No more lies. Are you ready to be honest with your family? With me?" He hesitated, his eyes darting away. "I told you, Ethan. I'll tell them. I just need a little more time." "Time," I echoed, frustration rising. How much time? Lucas. A month. A year. Your whole life. His face hardened. You don't get it. This isn't Chicago. This is my family. My home. I can't just. You can. I cut in, my voice shaking. You can. But you won't. And I can't keep waiting for you to decide who you want to be. He stared at me, his eyes wide with fear. Are you breaking up with me? I don't know, I said honestly, tears burning my eyes. But I can't stay with someone who's not honest with me. Or with themselves. The rain started, pounding the barn roof, drowning out the silence. Lucas reached for me, but I stepped back, my heart breaking. I need to think, I said, turning away. Alone. As I walked into the storm, the rain soaking my clothes, I felt Caleb's words echoing, choose yourself. For the first time, I realized that might mean letting go of Lucas and opening my heart to something, or someone, new. The rain soaked me to the bone, but I kept walking, the farm's fields blurring through the downpour. My fight with Lucas replayed in my head, his fear, his excuses, tearing at my heart. But Caleb's words, choose yourself, were louder, a beacon in the storm. I ended up at the creek, its banks swollen from the rain. I sat on a rock, letting the water's roar drown out my thoughts. I loved Lucas, or at least the version of him I'd known in Chicago. But here, on this farm, that version felt like a mirage, fading with every lie he'd told. And Caleb was real, raw, unafraid to bare his soul. That terrified me as much as it drew me in. Footsteps splashed behind me, and I turned to see Caleb, his jacket drenched, his face etched with concern. You'll catch your death out here, he said, his voice cutting through the rain. I needed to think, I said, my teeth chattering. Everything's falling apart. He sat beside me, close enough that I could feel his warmth. It feels like that now, he said. But sometimes things have to break before they can heal. I looked at him, his eyes steady despite the storm. Why do you care so much, Caleb? You barely know me. He smiled, a small, sad curve of his lips. Maybe I don't know you, but I know what it's like to feel trapped, to want something real and be too scared to reach for it. I see that in you, Ethan. And I can't help wanting to protect you. My heart stuttered, caught between fear and longing. Protect me from what? Lucas. Myself. Both, he said softly. Lucas loves you. I believe that. But he's not ready to give you what you deserve. And you're holding back, afraid to admit what you feel. I wanted to argue, but the truth was there, staring me in the face. Caleb saw me, I saw me in a way Lucas never had. And that scared me more than anything. The rain slowed, and we sat in silence, the creek's rush filling the space. Finally, I spoke, my voice barely audible. What do I do, Caleb? I don't want to hurt him. Caleb's hand brushed mine, a fleeting touch that sent warmth through me. You don't have to decide tonight. But don't stay with him out of guilt. You deserve to be loved fully, Ethan. No secrets, no shame. I nodded, tears mixing with the rain on my face. I need to talk to him. One last time. Caleb stood, offering me his hand. I'll be here, whatever you choose. Back at the farmhouse, I found Lucas in the living room, staring at the fire. His face was drawn, his charm stripped away. Ethan, he said, standing as I entered. I've been looking for you. We need to talk, I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. Really talk. He nodded, and we sat on the couch, the fire crackling between us. I know I've messed up, he started, his voice low. But I'm trying. Ethan. I'll tell Mom and Dad tomorrow. I'll come out. For real this time. I searched his eyes, looking for the man I'd fallen for. Why now? I asked. Because I'm pushing you. Because of Caleb. He flinched, but didn't deny it. I don't want to lose you, he said. You're everything to me. But you've been lying to me, I said, my voice breaking. You've been lying to your family, to yourself. I can't build a life with someone who's not honest. His eyes filled with tears. I can change. I'll do whatever it takes. I shook my head, my heart breaking. It's not about changing, Lucas. It's about being who you are. And I don't think you're ready for that. He reached for me, but I stood, stepping back. I need to let you go, I said, the words cutting like glass. For both of us. Lucas's face crumpled, and he buried his head in his hands. I wanted to comfort him, to take it all back, but I knew this was right. Loving him meant letting him face his truth, even if it meant losing him. I left him there, the fire's glow fading behind me. Outside, the rain had stopped, the stars piercing the night sky. Caleb was waiting by the barn, his silhouette a quiet promise. I didn't know what came next, but for the first time, I felt free to find out. The morning after I ended things with Lucas, the farm felt different, quieter, as if it knew something had shifted. I packed my bag, my internship cut short by a truth too heavy to carry. Lucas stayed in his room, and his parents, oblivious to the storm that had passed, waved me off with polite smiles. Only Caleb walked me to my car, his presence a steady anchor. You sure you're okay? He asked, leaning against the driver's side door. No, I said honestly, managing a small smile. But I will be. He nodded, his eyes warm but guarded. You're stronger than you think, Ethan. You faced the truth, even when it hurt. That's more than most people can say. I looked at him, the man who'd turned my world upside down with his honesty. What about you? I asked. What happens now? Caleb shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. I keep going. Maybe I'll finally tell Mom and Dad the truth. Maybe I'll leave this farm, find my own path. You've given me a reason to try. My heart swelled, but I didn't know what to say. The pull between us was still there, undeniable, but it was too soon, too raw. Will I see you again? I asked, my voice catching. I hope so, he said, his voice soft. When you're ready. I nodded, climbing into my car. As I drove away, the farm shrinking in my rearview mirror, I felt a mix of grief and hope. I'd lost Lucas, but I'd found something else myself, my truth, and the courage to choose it. Back in Chicago, the city felt both familiar and foreign. I threw myself into work, into healing, but Caleb's face lingered in my mind. His honesty, his strength, had changed me. Weeks later, a letter arrived, postmarked from the farm. Caleb's handwriting was steady, deliberate. Ethan, I told them. Mom cried. Dad was quiet, but they didn't shut me out. It's a start. I'm thinking of moving to the city, starting fresh. Maybe we'll cross paths. You showed me what it means to be brave. Thank you. Caleb. I held the letter, my heart racing. The farm had been a crucible, burning away lies to reveal truth. Lucas was finding his way, slowly, and so was Caleb. And me. I was learning to love myself first, to trust my heart. Months later, I saw Caleb at a coffee shop in Chicago. He was different, lighter, freer, his smile unguarded. We talked for hours, the pull between us sparking again. But this time, it felt right. Not a rebound, not a betrayal, but a beginning. The farm had broken us, but it had also set us free. And in its shadow, we found something worth fighting for: truth, love, and the courage to be who we are.